Hey class, this is Mrs. Lynn. Welcome to another week of remote learning. I hope you guys are still doing well and staying safe and healthy at home. So last week you guys did a fantastic job with your lesson. We talked about what it means to do research, and then you had a couple of activity that you had to complete for me. And you guys all did an excellent job. Those of you who have turned it in, I enjoyed seeing your um, projects. So this week we're going to put those skills to use. But let's review for a few minutes the steps for research because this is what we're actually going to be using today. So in front of you usually see the steps for research page that we kind of went over last time. And we said the first step to doing any research is to come up with a topic that you're interested in. So let's try to move my, oh, let's try to move the box on my slide to the first step, right? So the first thing in any sort of research activity is to come up with a topic or a question that you're curious about, okay? The second thing, once you have a topic is to look for information. Now, last week we talked about how you can use books, you can read a magazine article or go to a newspaper, or most likely right now you're probably going to um, a internet browser to look for information, right? So the second step is to look for information once you have some questions that you want to find out answers for. And then the next thing you need to do is to organize or to understand your information. So, when you're doing research, you might come across a lot of information that's interesting, but sometimes they might not answer your questions or is too hard for you to understand. Okay, so a lot of times when we're coming across this all these different types of information, before we can share them, we need to first understand them and organize them in some way. Okay. And then the last step is to share that information. So once you've learned something new about your topic, you can share them with your friends or with your families, your siblings, right? So those are the four basic steps to research. So this week, I'm going to let you guys practice these four steps on your own, or maybe with your parents' help. So on the GA homepage, I've posted a link to this form. Okay, and this is what you're going to turn in at the end of the week. Um, you can read over this with your mom and dad, but basically it's going to lead you through the four steps of research that we just reviewed. Okay, so the first step we talked about was to choose a topic. So for this activity, you're going to choose an animal that you want to learn more about. Okay, and then you're going to find out more about this animal by either using a book that you might have in your house, a magazine such as Zoo Bugs or National Geographic Kids, or you can use a website. And I'm going to show you a new website that you guys can try. And then you're going to look at your information and organizing in such a way that so that you understand it. And then you're going to fill out this form using the information that you find. Okay, so let's take a look at the form really quick so we know what kind of information we're looking for. The first question just asks for your name. That way I know who's turning in this project. And then you're going to write down the animal that you're researching. So if you're researching a lion, you're going to write down lion in there, or a frog or a tiger. Okay, so whatever animal you're researching. And then the third question asks about your habitat or the animal's habitat. Where does your animal live? Okay. And then you're going to answer a question about what your animal eats. Okay. And then if your animal, if the baby of the animal have a special name. So for example, we know that a baby cat is called a kitten, a baby dog is called a puppy, right? So does your animal have a special name for its baby. And then lastly, just one additional fact about your animal. So, can you share at least one other fact that you haven't talked about before about your animal? Okay, so it's about what, 5 questions. And then, if you have any questions for Mrs. Lynn about the research process, you can write it down here and I'll try to answer on Friday during our check in. So, these are the questions that you need to find out answers for. Okay. And again, you can use books or magazines, but I'm going to show you this new website that I found that I thought was pretty neat. And I put the link to it here. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, it's mel.org slash kids. But again, mommy and daddy can help you get to that. So let's click on this link to go to that website. And when I click on it, it's going to take me to this website. This is what it will look like. Okay. It's a Michigan Electronic Library. Most of our libraries are closed now, but the electronic library is still open. So this is a good place for us to go to look for information. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to where it says Pebble Go. Okay, so this is the website I want to show you today, Pebble Go. And then you're going to click on it. Okay, it might take a couple seconds for the website to load. Pebble Go is a really cute website and it has a lot of information on different topics that you might find interested. Now, today we're looking for animal facts, right? So that's the first category of topics here. So let's go into animals. Okay. And then you can see there's a lot of different animals that we can explore, a lot of different topics. So let's maybe go into this reptiles tab and all these different reptiles that we can learn more about. Now, you know, Mrs. Lynn has a snake at home, so let's go ahead and click on the snake. And you know what I'm going to do is mute this website because it's really loud. All right, so all these are different kinds of snakes that you might find. Let's see, you want to learn more about pythons. So you can go into the pythons page for any other snake. Okay. If you change your mind, you can always click the back button here, okay, to go to another type of animal, okay. And so right here where it says back, this is where you can go back and forth, okay. So okay, let's go back to the reptiles, and I said we were going to do snake. Now, none of these are snakes that I have at home, but let's just go ahead and choose python. Okay. So when you get to the Pythons page, you see all these tabs up here. Okay, that's where you're going to find a lot of the information that we are trying to find answers to, right? So first, under the body section, they talk about what the python looks like, maybe how long they can grow up to be, whether they're smooth or bumpy on their skin. And then I remember there was a question about habitat, right? Where do pythons live? So let's go under that tab. Okay. So it says pythons can be found in Asia, Africa, and Australia. They live in warm areas such as rainforests, deserts, and grasslands. Most pythons live on the ground. Some pythons live in trees. Okay. So let me see that I just read that, and that's a lot of information that I can put into my sheet, but you can just choose maybe one fact to put in the Google form. Now, if you have trouble reading the paragraph on your own, you can press this button to have it read to you. So that's a really good tool in case you want the text to be read to you, and you can just read along to practice your reading as well. Okay. So let's see, pythons can be found in Asia, Africa, and Australia. So let's put that fact into our Google form. Okay, so here's the form that you're supposed to fill out. So I'm going to first put in my name, Mrs. Lynn. I'm going to put down the animal I'm researching with it, which is a python. Okay. And the first question was, where does your animal live? Do you guys remember the answer? So I can say pythons live in Africa, Asia, and with Australia. I don't know if I remember that correctly. Let's go back and double check. Asia, Africa, and Australia. I think we got that right. Okay. Now the second question asks about food. So let's go into the food tab. And it says pythons wrap their bodies around prey. They squeeze their prey to death and swallow it whole. Small pythons eat lizards, frogs, and rats. Large pythons eat wild pigs, deer, and sheep. Wow, I did not know that. That's really interesting. All right, so let's put a couple of those facts into our form. Okay, what does your animal eat? So I can say pythons eat, can eat rats, deer. And can you guys remember one other thing that they eat? Rats, oh, and lizards and frogs. Lizards, frogs, and even deer. All right, so that's the second question answered. All right, let's go into the life cycle tab of that Python page and see if there's a name that we call baby pythons. I don't think so, but let's check anyway. So into the life cycle. All right. Female pythons lay between 2 and 100 eggs. Can you guys believe that? They wrap their bodies around the eggs to keep them warm. Hatchling pythons are about 1.5 to 2 feet long. Huh, I think hatchling might be a special name for baby pythons. So let's put that into our form. That's kind of something new I just learned. Didn't really know that there was a name for them. So here we go, hatchlings. They're baby pythons. All right, so if you want to add more about the life cycle, you can do that here. But right now, the question only asks about whether there's a special name for the baby animal, and we have found that. So that's all I needed to enter. And then the very last question asks, can you share at least one other fact about your animal? So let's go back to the Python page. And I'm gonna this go under fun facts. And then let's look for a fun fact. Pythons are really good swimmers. Ball pythons are popular pets. They grow only about 5 feet long. That's a little too long for me, but apparently they only grow up to 5 feet. Green tree pythons turn from bright red and yellow to green as they grow. That's really cool. I didn't know that they would be born bright red and then turn green as they grow. So that's a really cool fact. But for now, I'm going to take the first one. The pythons are really good swimmers, and we're going to put that into form. Pythons are good swimmers. And then that's it. We answered all the required questions, which has the red star, right? And then when we're done, we can just hit submit. Now, remember, if you do have any questions for Mrs. Lynn, this is where you would put down your question, okay? But if you don't, you can just go ahead and hit submit. And then Mrs. Lynn will get a copy of your answer. Now, this week, boys and girls, this will serve as your check-in form. So once you have submitted your activity, you do not have to submit a K-2 check-in form. Because by you completing this activity, I know that you have already done the work for the week. So I hope that was really straightforward. I know it's a lot of little steps that you have to remember, but hopefully you will have some help from mommy or daddy. And if you have any questions during the week, remember I'm always here to help. And have fun with this activity. It's not supposed to take a lot of time. As you see that pebble go is pretty simple, and you can play around on that page after you're done with the activity. You don't have to stick to the animal facts. You can maybe check out some other topics that are interesting to you. Um, and you can also check out more on the mail.org page, which has a lot of interesting resources for kids as well. All right, so that's it for now. Hopefully, I'll see you on Friday's check in and we can talk more about what you were able to do for this activity. We also might have a guest reader this week again, but I'm not going to tell you who he or she is. So you're going to have to do some guessing. All right, have fun with this, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you Friday. Bye.